Red vs. Blue, Dream Vision. Greetings and trust you are well. On the 15th of December 2021, just as I was falling asleep, a scene appeared before me. I am somewhere in a southern state in America. I do not know which state it is exactly, but I believe it could be Louisiana or one of those states. I am in a restaurant made of timber wood. It looks pretty old, like it was many decades ago, from around the 1950s. There is a moist, sticky, humid feel to the air. There are 2 floors on this restaurant. I am on the upper floor of the restaurant. The restaurant looked empty. There was only one person at a table. It was a woman sitting alone. She sat in the middle of the upper floor restaurant. Right in the middle of the restaurant. She was done up with makeup. She seemed in her 50s, but the way she dressed was pretty glamorous. She has blonde hair, but it looks more yellowish. She is alone with a drink on the table. I can tell this woman is what Americans would call a yuppie, liberal type American women. I could just sense it. By the clothes, body language, hair, drinks on her table, and the jewelry she wore. You could tell she was the argumentative type, always looking for a problem, and the type to always have some comment. On the top floor of the restaurant, there is a balcony that overlooks, I believe, either a swamp or a large waterway. I did not see it, I just had the feeling. I see there are tall trees, like willow trees. I see the wind is blowing them. I see the hanging branches move. All of a sudden on the balcony appear before me, hardcore men. I mean hardcore. I am talking about the rugged, old-style American Indian-style hunters or bounty hunters. They walk from the balcony to into the restaurant. I see the women says something to the men and the men say something back. But I cannot hear what they are saying. It is like I am watching a silent film. I watch this woman start arguing with these men. I can see she is trying to provoke them. She then pauses, waiting for them to react and say something back. It's as if she expects these men to join in this tit for tat of going backwards and forwards in some debate or some provocation. At that moment, the men opened fire on her. They literally took out their weapon and blasted in her in a very cold manner. It was the expression of these men, that it made no difference she was a woman. I could see they saw her as a problem, some liberal that has destroyed America. There was no expression or remorse. They went back to normal as if nothing had even taken place. I did not put this up initially since I wanted to see if it would play on my mind like the dream visions, and since the vision prior to sleep I have thought about it every day a number of times. It foretells of a severe conflict coming between conservative, patriotic Americans and the liberals of the day. The liberals are still going to think they have the upper hand, but will have misjudged, not reading the warning signs, nor being able to discern the winds of change. 18th of December 2021, Dream Vision. This is a dream vision. This dream vision woke me up roughly 3 hours before I was supposed to get up. In front of me I see what looks like old telephone booths in the UK, the ones you could stand on to make telephone calls during the 1980s. The left-hand phone booth is red, the one on my right is blue. There is a man in the left phone booth that is red, and on the right-hand side, the blue phone booth, there is a woman. The man seemed a little overweight. He seemed like some radio presenter because he seems to be talking to this woman as if it is a radio station. The woman had quite striking features. She had good cheekbone structures, well spoken, and seemed very smart and awake. I see there is an argument going on between them. The radio presenter in the red box represents the group of people in Britain mandating that everyone take the jab. The woman represents those who took the jab but are against the mandating of the jab. I see and hear bits and pieces of the argument. I see the man is telling the women that everyone must get this jab, and the women in the blue box is saying no, not everyone should get it, that it is an individual right. I see she has taken the jab, but at this stage, I see those who took the jab now realize there is something else to this. The entire debate and argument is about those who have not taken the jab. Those in the red phone booth representing the portion of the population who want forced jab mandates are bullying those who refuse to take the jab. This is where those who took the jab split up. The jabbed who do not want this to be forced onto everyone now are seeing it for what it is, and are standing up for those who do not want to take the jab, and it is boiling over. I am standing in front of a crowd of those who do not want to take the jab. The unjabbed are sitting on the sidelines watching this fight and argument between these two camps. They are not involved in this, it is almost as if they have been removed from this fight somehow, almost something spiritual has taken place. They are out of harm's way and not part of this. I see the argument is getting heated, this man is getting angrier and angrier, the women in the blue booth gives it back. Each time they argue about it, I see the phone booths move closer and closer. At first they were separated by some distance, but with each argument, I see the booths get closer and closer with each argument. Eventually the phone booths are on top of each other, they are right next to each other, literally touching each other. I then see this man and women get out of the phone booth. Now they are arguing face to face, but they are still about 5 feet away, but again, each time each argument draws them closer and closer. Now they are face to face and getting into each other's space, then I see the first push, it is the man in the red box who now has pushed, physically pushed, and the next thing. I see them rolling on the ground, and it is vicious, they are rolling. The reason I put the cat video in this, is because I saw this like a cat fight. They were wowing at each other, getting closer and closer, until they were so close they were screaming at each other, then they launched at each other and they were rolling on the ground. Taking chunks out of each other with each scrap. It was vicious and the fighting and rolling did not stop, they just fought the entire time, rolling on the ground from one side to the next. Each one matched in strength, but neither of them willing to let it go. The liberal communists are using those who refuse to take the jab as scapegoats for hijacking and prolonging their plans, while removing rights and installing new rules, which the nationalists who have now woken up to the fact that the entire thing was never about a virus but about removing their rights. This is where the clash will come in. The nationalists went along to get along, believing they were doing it for the greater good, but now, their eyes have opened and there will be no letting it go. Those laws were scrapped, they were removed, and as the Dream Vision foretold, if you remove your laws you will destroy yourself. The translation will be, and this is the second confirmation of this Dream Vision. Last year, I saw it was the women who set the grass alight. Now I see again, the women in the fight, but they are equally matched and as strong as the liberal men. The women will take on those who push this mandate and they will fight for the freedom of those who refuse to take the jab, and they will refuse to go along with this so long as mandates come to the foreground. Again, another fulfillment of this from the first Dream Vision. The words came to me during the Dream Vision, if you remove those laws, if you get rid of Christianity you will destroy yourself. Through the removing of the laws, it boils down to this. The people are now destroying themselves. The entire time, I thought it would be those who refused the jab is where the fight would begin, but I saw it is those who took the jab, and who are now standing up for those who do not want the jab based on the grounds that they should have freedom of choice. The seer mentioned that the grass will catch alight in the UK at the same time race riots hit France. I cannot remember if he mentioned it will be around an election, but we have an election coming up in France this year. We have Germany also pushing back, and the seer mentioned there would be violence in Germany that will shock the news. The translation of the Dream Vision and the Vision. There is going to be a severe clash between liberals and conservatives in America and in the UK. Those who pulled this off were thinking that those who took the jab would orchestrate something against those who refused to take the jab, but it is the conservatives who went along with the mandates, doing it for their country as they thought, who will be the most vocal, and they will not back down. It seemed very strange to see that those who did not take the jab were removed from the situation. It could also be that those in the blue box represent the nationalists of England and the red box are those of liberal communists. The seer also said at some point the communists would cause problems in the UK which would lead to the grass catching alight. The nationalists were strong who stood up for those who refused to take the jab. The women nationalists are as strong or stronger than the liberal men. The women's spirit I saw was very strong, her spirit was that of a nationalist man. For me, it was beyond amazing to see how the two boxes or phone booths moved closer and closer together with each debate, how they got out of each of their booths, continued arguing, and then got in each other's faces and then lunged at each other. It was vicious and there was no pause in their arguments, like a game of tennis, each one serving and then being hit back with counter-arguments. I see that the nationalists have very clear, concise arguments which enrage the liberal communists. The liberals or communists enraged the situation by not having any logical argument. I see that everything that came out of his mouth was based on emotion, based on the way the blood rushed to his head. I saw the man's face get pinker and pinker as the blood rushed to his face. I often heard the women say no in the argument. She repeated no, and she was very, very cool and calm. There was nothing he or that group could say to them that this woman representing the nationalists, those who wish to preserve bodily autonomy and uphold Magna Carta and common law. Even when they stood out of the phone booths, it was the liberal who was enraged and got in her face. The nationalists will not back down, but they will be calm right down to the very end, and I do not think the liberals or communists think that the loyalists will scrap and fight. But again, it is how the people who did not take the jab, it was as if they were totally removed from this fight, and it was between two groups who took the jab. Perhaps this is the hand of God on those who did not take it. They sat on the sidelines like spectators, like they were watching some tennis match, not involved. I think they were pretty shocked at what they were seeing. It was for me totally amazing to see two groups who had taken the jabs fight this out. It is something I would never have believed. So it will be interesting to see how this plays out. Since I had the American vision of patriots and liberals fighting, I see there are already telltale signs. Today on one of the other video sites, BitChute, there was a video posted today or yesterday where some county changed their logo from an American tomahawk to something else on the grounds of it being offensive, which resulted in a fist fight. It was also broadcast on American news networks. So the first signs are there, and it will only pick up. Again, what surprised me about the American situation is that I would have thought the issue would have boiled down to a racial conflict, but I see the patriots, conservatives, are fighting white liberals. The Americans will be a lot more ruthless, and that old American pioneering ruggedness was there. The only way to describe it is, which I hate to use since it is a media slur, but something like rednecks, or what the media call hillbillies with their ruthlessness, but they were not rednecks or hillbillies. These patriots and conservatives mean business, and from the dream it seems if their talking is over, they will not even engage in debates or squabbles. They will simply hit them without thinking of consequences nor showing even an ounce of remorse. So two different visions about a coming clash between liberals and conservatives. The UK dream is confirmation of the first dream on the channel. It is a confirmation of the women setting the grass alight, and even more interesting is that we have our very own liberals. The seer called them liberal supper in South Africa. Their turn will come when the scales fall off their eyes, when they see how the government in South Africa use these same laws. When the final portion of the pickaxe vision the seer saw comes to pass. It is a clash of the conservatives, the nationalists across the world, including the coming riots in France. It could boil into something like what we saw in the past with the Civil War, North versus South. And that's all for these dream visions. Stay safe, may God be with you this festive season. Stay safe.